Okay, here we go. This is your test review, and I thought I'd videotape me doing the answer keys so that you, if you need help or you need to see how problems work, then you could reference this. First four problems are FOIL. You gotta know how to FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. You also have gotta be able to watch your signs. So I'm gonna keep change on the FOILs because that'll really help track the signs. Okay, here we go. First, m squared. Outer, negative 6m, right? Outer. Inner, negative 5m. Last, positive 30, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Add your like terms. Negative 11m plus 30. Now, if you use minuses instead of plus negatives, I'm fine with that, but don't do that unless you can do it without missing your signs a lot. Okay, number 2, keep change here. First is 21p squared. Outer is negative 28p. Inner is 3p. Last is negative 4. Adding like terms. Oh, and don't forget the squared on the first term. I see that a lot. 7p times 3p is 21p squared. So 21p squared, and negative 28 plus 3 is negative 25. P plus negative 4. And just to show you with subtraction signs, if you did not keep change, it would look like this. Minus 25p minus 4, right? Minuses and plus negatives are the same thing. Okay, number 3. Now you have to expand this kind. So you're gonna write it x minus 8, and then you get x squared minus 8x minus another 8x. Oops, sorry. I just didn't do what I told you to do, which is keep change all these. See, I don't do it, so I gotta really think about doing it when I do it. And then the last is positive 64. X squared plus negative 16x plus 64. Okay. And the last one, plus negative, is 4x squared. Outer, 10x. Inner, negative 10x. Last, negative 25. Now 10x and negative 10x cancel out. So you get 4x squared plus negative 25, right? Of course, 4x squared minus 25 is also correct. All right, let me put the minus options here. Or, where can I squeeze it on here? M squared minus 11m plus 30. And this one could be x squared minus 16x plus 64. All right, there's our FOIL. Next, let's do, so foiling is taking it out of the parentheses. Factoring is putting it into the parentheses. So, a couple things. You've got to follow this list. You've got to do it. If you don't do that, you're gonna miss a lot of GCFs and you're gonna do some wacky stuff. So follow the checklist, and the other thing is watch your signs. All right, now, first one, no GCF. This is the difference of two squares, right? I already moved on to step 2. Has two terms. I'm gonna write the little square roots so I don't put the wrong thing in the parentheses. Here's what the difference of two squares looks like. It's got a plus and a minus. Gotta know your patterns. Plus 5, 7q minus 5. Factoring is a really important skill. I was just, well, it seems like a lot lately, helping my son with his Algebra 2 homework, and we're factoring all the time to do stuff. All right, so number 6. No GCF. Step 2, could it be a perfect square? It has 3 terms, so maybe, yep, that's the only option, so let's check. That's a square. Don't forget the x. That's a square. 30x doubled is 60x. So it's 10x. Use that first sign. If it's plus, this is plus. Some of you are doing the exact opposite of that. Okay. All right, there you go. Number 7, step 1, still looking here, factor out the GCF. There's a 7 in both of these. We gotta pull it out first, right? GCF. And I get a plus 2. That's not a pattern. Like there's two pieces here. So you could consider the difference of 2 squares, but neither of these is a square. So that's the end. Number 8. Okay, this is an obvious grouping problem, and I'm not gonna put a GCF in a grouping. That's just too confusing. We are right here, grouping. There. Don't change any signs. It's a simple grouping. There's a plus in the middle. So pulling out an m from the first group gives me p minus 7. I can pull a 10 out from the second group and I get p minus 7. Parentheses need to match. If they don't go any farther. The other thing is you have to show me this step. I want to see this step on your test or any GCF steps. Okay, then we get p minus 7 times m plus 10. Number 9, oh, and by the way, it says 1 prime. Okay, number 9, no GCF. Step 2, special pattern. There's 3 terms, so it could be a perfect square, so let's check that. 8 times 8. The ends are squares, so it met that criteria. 8c doubled should be 16c, but it's not. So it's not a perfect square, and there's no GCF. Can't do anything. If you can't do anything, that is prime. Okay, I gave you a hint on this one. I want you to FOIL to check your work. No GCF. Step 2, special pattern. It's not a perfect square. Step 3, crisscross. Now you know it's crisscross if there's no number in the front here. So let's do crisscross. 10 goes in the top, negative 11 goes in the bottom. Here's our parentheses. X times x gives me the first term. 2 things that multiply to 10. Well, I could try 2 and 5. Yeah. But 2 and 5 cannot add to a negative 11. Or 11, so I'm not even thinking of the sign initially. It's gotta be 10 times 1 to make 10. Now let's get the signs to work. A negative 10 times a negative 1 multiplies to positive 10, adds to negative 11. So minus 10, minus 1, right? It's these 2 things that go in the parentheses. Now to check. Foiling, x squared, outer, minus 1, inner, minus 10. That's minus 11x, last 10. All right, let me highlight. Moving on. I wonder if I can do this in one video. I would like to be able to. It's really slow uploading them to YouTube, so it's kind of nice to have to do it once. Let me turn over. All right, second page. Let's try to knock these out. Okay, 11, FOIL to check. There's no GCF. There's 3 terms. Could be a perfect square, but 2 is not a square. Now that takes me down to crisscross. 3 terms, yes. But there's a number in the front here. This 28 makes crisscross, well, that tosses out crisscross. Trial and error. All right, trial and error. You just gotta put the parentheses and go to town here. I'm gonna get a pencil, which I can't find, of course. Oh well, I'll just write it. 4p and 7p. I'm gonna start there. Okay, now, what goes in the last place is two things that multiply to make 2. Jesse, and that was my dog. Thank you for that. It's either a 1 and a 2 or a 2 and a 1. So if I put a 2 here, 14, I'm going to put a 1 and a 2. 7 and 8, that's going to add to 15. So if you don't get it, if you put a 2 and a 1 and it doesn't work, you got to move on and try the next combination, right? So you got to keep trying. Anyway, it's plus and plus. FOIL to check. All right, we get 28p squared. 8p plus 7p is 15p plus 2. Number 12. It's got 2 steps. That's kind of a hint. Let's look for a GCF here. Well, there's an m in every term. So we need to pull it out first. This is its own step. That leaves me with p squared minus 6p plus a 9. That's one step. It says there's 2. That's telling me that this factors. All right. It has 3 terms, so going down the list, it could be a perfect square. Let's test it. 3p doubled is 6p, so yes, it's a perfect square. So it's going to look like this. P, first sign, 3 squared. All right, number 13, GCF. I can pull out a 5. So y squared minus 4. Now I didn't say anything about multiple steps on here because we've had this kind before. This is the difference of 2 squares, so that's going to factor further, right? Because those are both squares. So y plus 2, y minus 2. Okay, number 14. Oh, I'm already at 12 minutes, darn it. Okay, 2 steps. Step 1, GCF. I can pull out a 2. So GCF, pulling out a 2 is x squared plus 7x plus 12. Step 2. Well, it can't be a perfect square going down the list. Crisscross. Yeah, there's no number in the front here, so I can do a crisscross on that guy. So there's still the 2. 2 parentheses. Factoring is not easy. It takes a lot of practice. So if you've been practicing, you're probably doing really good at it. If you haven't been practicing, you're probably lost. All right, 12 goes there, 7 goes there. 6 times 2 won't add to 7, but 3 times 4 will. X plus 3, x plus 4. I need to see this step and this step. I need to see this step and this step. Both steps. Don't, if I just see these answers, I'm gonna give it back to you. Okay, 15. No GCF. This is a trial and error, so I gotta move a little faster. Okay, let's try 3W and 2W. And just for fun, let's try 5 and 1. 3 and 10, that was total luck. It has to be a minus and a minus. A minus 10 and a minus 3 make minus 13. Last multiplies to 5. Okay, FOIL to check. Check. Okay, 6W squared. Negative 3W, negative 10W, negative 13W plus 5. Checks. Number 16. No GCF. This is the difference of 2 squares. 4n squared and 9. Those are the square roots. 4n squared plus 9. 4n squared minus 9. How many more do I have? Huh? Oh, okay. I'm going to have to break it after this one. Make sure it's fully factored is the hint that this is going to go farther. Well, this is still the difference of two squares, because 2n is the square root, 3 is the square root. 4n squared plus 9 does not break. This one is breaking into two pieces. 2n plus 3, 2n minus 3. I need to see both steps. Okay, let's stop it there.